Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be baking a 2-loaf recipe. And if you guys watched my previous video, you know that I am a beginner with sourdough bread. I'm learning as I go and I'm just documenting my journey. I fed my starter 5 to 6 hours ago and it doubled in size pretty quickly, so I was ready to start baking my loaf. I did the floating test and it passed. And I'm using this bigger bowl to bake today. Since I'm doing a 2-loaf recipe, I figured I needed a bigger bowl. I'm using King Arthur's organic bread flour. I really love this flour. It's been working perfectly for me. I've also been loving this bread whisk. I feel like it makes mixing so much easier. So I mixed my sourdough starter with the water and then I added the bread flour until it became a shaggy dough. I also mixed in my salt with the flour. I know some recipes call for adding it afterwards, but I just did it with the flour. I let that rest for an hour before starting my first set of stretch and folds. Here's where I started to notice that my dough was sticking a little more than usual to the wooden bowl that I was using. So I tried to give it a chance. I let the dough sit for another 30 minutes before performing my second stretch and fold. I covered that with a damp towel and I came back 30 minutes later and I started to do my second stretch and fold, and I noticed that the bowl was still kind of sticking to the dough. So I decided to transfer to another bowl, to a glass bowl. I had another bigger one. I just thought this bowl was cuter. I wanted to give it a try. So I let that rest another 30 minutes and I transferred my dough to a new glass bowl and I started to do my coil folds. This is my third one. You can do all stretch and folds, all 4 rounds, but I decided to do coil folds for the third one. So I let that sit for another 30 minutes and here's my fourth and final fold, which is a coil fold. I did 2 stretch and folds and this is the second coil fold. A total of 4 folds, 30 minutes apart each. I have truly been enjoying the whole bread making process and I thought I was going to be more stressed with this, but honestly I have been loving it and I even find it to be a little therapeutic. It can feel like the bread making process can take a long time. In reality, it took me all day, but it's mostly just waiting. I did the first 3 hours of just letting my dough rest and doing stretch and folds, and then after that I let my dough sit on the counter for about 8 hours, I will say, and around nighttime, right before bed, I decided to shape my bread. By this time, it had already doubled in size, so I was ready to split my dough in half. And tell me why I split it so evenly on my first without even trying. I wanted to weigh my dough just to see how much it weighed, and they were 2 grams apart, so they were basically the same size. I did inclusions for these loaves. The first loaf I ever baked was a plain sourdough, but for my second time baking, I wanted to try the inclusions. This one is a blueberry lemon. I really thought it was going to be harder to add inclusions to my loaf, but to be honest, it's very easy. Just make sure with every fold that you make to add more of the inclusions. That way it's evenly distributed throughout the whole loaf. I think the hardest part is just the shaping. Just be extra gentle. As long as you're gentle, your inclusions should stay in place. I made sure to be very gentle in the shaping process and I stopped. I didn't overdo it because I felt like the berries were going to come out. I then flipped that over into my Banneton baskets and covered and refrigerated overnight to finish the fermentation. I also did a cheddar jalapeno roll for the other inclusion. I didn't really show that, but the next morning I was ready to start baking my first loaf. I actually started with the cheddar jalapeno because I was most excited for this one. I love cheese and jalapeno, so also it did not disappoint. Here I am scoring my bread. I'm still learning how to score. You can see the jalapenos peeking through here, but I also specifically saved 3 little slices of jalapeno to add to the big scoring, just so it could look cute during the baking, and it actually turned out amazing. Also, I don't even want to talk about the smell. It smelled so freaking delicious. So here is the main score. This is where I put the 3 jalapeno slices that I saved. And that just made my loaf extra pretty. I took out my oven, my bread oven, which I have been absolutely obsessed with. It was the best investment ever. I put my bread in there with parchment paper and I put 3 ice cubes around to add a little bit of steam. I then put that in the oven and I tried the baking sheet method where you put the baking sheet underneath just so the loaf won't get like super burnt from the bottom, or crispy, I guess you can say. But I baked that at 450 for 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes I took the lid off, baked at 400 for the remaining time, which was about 25 more minutes. And here are my loaves. Could you see how freaking beautiful this is? I also got this bread knife. It makes the cutting process so much easier. Cutting through this jalapeno cheddar loaf was amazing. It smells so good. I couldn't wait much. I think I waited an hour and a half before cutting in. It was still warm and it tasted absolutely amazing. Here's the blueberry lemon loaf. It looks so pretty and I'm so excited to continue baking. Let me know if you want to see more of these videos taking you through the process. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.